I do have some.
All right, yep, go ahead, you can start.
No, I want to take a second and I got to apologize to my man Logan Taylor. I didn't realize it in the heat of the moment. I said the wrong last name in my post game. Um, a name from back, a young man that played baseball at Clemson. I said the wrong last name. He came up and gave me a big hug. I think, and it's been bothering me since then, and I didn't realize it in the moment. So just want to take a second because Logan was a great representative when he was here. Chose to go be closer to family. Was doing a great job for them. So Logan, I just want to apologize for saying the wrong last name. No ill intent. Wish you best the rest of the way. But I felt like I needed to do that. It was one of those kind of honest mistakes, but I know how I am about my name. So I just wanted to apologize before I started.
All right, with that, we go for questions. Greg can start us off.
He held you up. It's all right. It happens.
I get started with Andre Greene. What did you guys, I guess, first of all, I'm sure you knew from his great high school recruit, highly sought after. What did you see development wise that you thought you guys could pull out of him? And what have been the big focus that you guys are trying to pull from him since he got it?
Yes, prior to coming to UVA, I was aware of Andre, previous institution, recruited him heavily, and I think kind of came down, was in the top runnings, so knew a lot about him. I think the biggest thing for us is just he needed opportunity. He just didn't have a ton of opportunities at his previous institution, and so with the combination of what we knew coming out of high school, there was a limited, footage to really go off of, but you knew the potential was there. He just needed an opportunity. And then when he showed up here, you could see that there's a ton of talent. Just needed a little bit of development, just some time and invested in, understanding the playbook, also, the fundamentals of the position. So those were the things that we saw. Just a young man that's very talented. And then once you meet him, you have a chance to be around him. And he's a charming young man, great smile, very respectful, very, very conscientious. Just needed an opportunity, and I'm happy for him, to now because again, coming in as a transfer is always tough. Right? You got to fit into a new locker room, you got to learn a new system, and so he's really taken to that. He's around the building all the time, even on his own time, he's here putting in work, and so just so happy to see him have some success, and hopefully that'll just breed more confidence to continue to persevere through the development process, which hopefully will, develop him into an outstanding player in the future.
Project.
I think the phrase we heard a lot during the offseason was competitive depth, building competitive depth.
Right.
And then you see Kendrickson, you see Trey McDonald, you see Andre Greene, you see all these guys, Anthony Britton. So now when you're seeing, like, as fruits of your labor coming to, how would you kind of evaluate that step in the process of creating a program?
I think it was critical for us, but we're still in that building stage, right? Because not every position is at that competitive depth stage yet, right? Because of where we are as a program, you got some older guys, and then you still got some freshmen that you're trying to grow up. So I think collectively we're better than we've been in the 3 years that we've been here as a staff, but still not, where we desire to be, because you want to have competitive depth at all positions. That just it helps the guys to improve. That's really the only way you get better, to be honest with you, is to have competitive practices. And because we have more depth, we're able to be more competitive on the practice field, which I think is translating to more results on the field.
Yeah.
It's one thing to have one good game in an area like running or passing, but to back it up like the running game did against BC, against the defense of that caliber. Did you learn something you feel much better about kind of where that part of the game is coming out of that game? Yeah,
and it's a challenge week to week, and every game presents, different opportunities. But for the guys to find in the second half, what I was probably most proud of in this past week's performance is that it didn't start as fast as we wanted to. Didn't have as much success, offensively or defensively as we initially wanted. But they just kept fighting. They persevered, and then they were able to have a little success, and that bred more confidence, which allowed them to to just keep pushing. And it was a defensive, type of game. And we knew that BC's defense is really good. And, our guys, once they settled in, made it pretty difficult on them to put together drives that ended in points. But we want to run the football. I think that's a mentality. That's what we desire to do. I think that sometimes, and I've said this before, you can too easily get caught up in stats. For us, it's being efficient, being effective. And I thought in the second half we were a lot more effective with the run game, which allows us now to do more things in the pass game, play a little bit faster with our tempo. So there's a lot of things that come off of the ability to be efficient running the football.
Asked you about it to player after the game, give an update on him, and also Chris Tyree, Trell Harris, or any of the other.
Yeah. So AC, dealing with a little swelling in his knee. Got to wait to get, MRI and all of that underway to figure out exactly the extent of the knee. Don't anticipate that he'll be able to go this week until the swelling calms down. Trail is day to day, hopeful for Trail. And then, Chris is dealing with, kind of the growing area. And so you want to be really, really careful with that so it doesn't, progress to any type of sports hernia. So we're waiting on results we're waiting on an MRI. Unfortunately right now, as a result of, what's happened and transpired with the hurricane. We also got like Carson Gay's surgery was delayed because we don't have the resources available, right now in town. So really with Chris Tyree, we won't know until we get the scans back, and we're going to err on the side of caution. So I would anticipate that he wouldn't go this week. Clary wouldn't go this week, but Trail's, hopeful. He's getting better, every day. But for him, his is a deal that's going to bother him off and on for the rest of the season. So it just becomes more of a pain tolerance, type deal with the knee. Trying to think if there's anybody else. I mean, we got Twitty. Yeah, so Twitty he'll be down this week, but we anticipate that he'll be back ready to go next week.
And then what is Malcolm Greene say?
Yeah, so Malcolm, last Thursday decided that he wanted to exercise his redshirt option. And man, respect his decision, did everything the right way. Malcolm's been, he was a great addition to our program, really, really helped establish the culture and in a competitive situation. And with one season left, really wanted to try and maximize, that opportunity. So he's going to exercise his redshirt option and look elsewhere next year to be able to find a position that he feels like he can maximize that 1 year. Of eligibility that he has left, but all positive, nothing, no issues there. It's just strictly a young man that's, and he had to wait his turn before he got here. And then last year played a little bit and was splitting some time with Corey, and I get it. And I don't blame him. So he's leaving on good terms. Everything is good. It's just kind of where we are in college football.
Just to add on that, Kempton Shine.
Yeah, so Kempton Shine, anticipate that he'll be back later this week. Had to get a little work on the knee, but he's progressing well. So I anticipate that Shine will be back this week.
And just kind of a message to the team, when you have success, and it's just about managing that success to move forward, how do you kind of balance that when you see the Wake Forest game, come back win, high emotions, then you have down from Maryland? How do you kind of help as a coach kind of navigate those emotions? Right.
So I think there's a lot of things that we try to use. We try to use every tactic and hope that one of them sticks and helps them internalize it. But the first thing is we create daily focuses so that we can focus on what we need to do process wise that particular day. We have a 24-hour rule. You celebrate it for 24 hours and then you flush it and you move on to the next, because the reality is you got to go right back to work. And Sunday is their day off. And then Monday morning, 7:30, we're right back in here, and we got to process the areas where we need to get better. And then we got to turn our focus to the next opponent. So when you look at the schedule wise, you really don't have a ton of time to stay too high. And we also talk about playing the game with emotion, but not being emotional, right? This is a game where it's the next snap. You have to be able to compartmentalize. You have to be able to move on quickly. That's just kind of the mentality that we try to establish We use a lot of different motivational videos. At times I feel like they probably get tired of just hearing Coach Elliott say it. So I try to get people that they recognize, sports figures, anybody out there that's kind of, reiterating the message. And so we try to help them just compartmentalize so they can focus on the work. Because at the end of the day, that feeling that you get to feel in the locker room after the game is a result of how committed to the process were you throughout the course of the week to be able to play your best football for 3 hours so that you can experience, those 15 minutes or so of joy, and then you start right back over. So it's actually not as glamorous as people may think, right? Like you have to be very regimented, man. It's falling in love with the mundane, to be honest with you. That's what we're trying to establish, and that's what produces the results. Because if you focus strictly on the outcome, right, you'll shortchange yourself. You shortchange the process, and then you won't be able to replicate the outcomes consistently. And that's how we try to get these guys to think.
With a little thinner secondary,
Yeah.
was the challenge this weekend, especially with Louisville's passing attack,
Whew.
14th in the country in passing yards.
Oh yeah, you had to remind me there. I appreciate it. No, they're very good, very well coached, very fast. Everything is coordinated offensively. From the timing to the offensive line sets. All of it is greatly coordinated. So the biggest thing for us is the guys that are getting their opportunity. They got to be ready, and so it's all about preparation. So eye discipline, right? Eye discipline, formation recognition, understanding situations. And then trusting your preparation so that you can play fast, because they got speed all over the field. The quarterback, man, he'll pick you apart. Very accurate. Can throw it from the pocket. He can throw on the run, and then he also, makes a lot of the off-platform throws and different arm angles that, like, man, how did he get that ball right to that guy? So we're gonna have to prepare well. Our guys are going to have to do a great job of studying so that they can process things quickly, and then they got to trust their training, and then they got to play fast.
Yeah.
You've had several Ivy League transfers the last couple of years. I know that book smarts don't necessarily transfer to the athletic arena, but with Kendron, Akire,
Mhm.
Tyler Neville, has their intelligence helped them make the transition from FCS to FBS?
I think the first thing is socially it helps them, and then academically it helps them, right? Because they've already been in that environment, so you can take that piece out of the equation. So any anxiety related with that, they kind of already are ahead of the game. And then when you look at those guys, they were high performing, high functioning football players, in the Ivy League, and so they already had evidence that they're able to take care of business in a classroom, but then also football, does come pretty easy to those guys. And so I think it starts with the character that they have. They're able to make the transition socially and academically, and then their body of work illustrates to us that they have the capacity from a football standpoint to make that transition pretty quickly.
Ben Smiley is a guy that's been in the program for a long time. And
Yep.
the guys were saying that he talked to the team last
Mhm.
week, just kind of what was his message. And it's also kind of unique that him and Antonio are the only guys that have
That's
gone to
right.
a bowl game in
That's
this
right.
program. So how much can you kind of lean on that?
Yeah. So Ben's gonna be mad at me for sharing this because he was kind of sentimental with the guys. Man, he told them that he loved them, right? Like he loved being a part of this team. He felt like this team, very similar to the 2019 team that had success. That if we stay focused and we stay committed, we can have potentially a similar experience. I told him to just cherish the moment because it goes by fast, and he's committed to doing everything that he needs to do to help this team, experience a postseason like the 2019 team.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I guess,
Yeah.
with the offensive line, the sacks allowed is down compared to last year. I think it was like 3-something last year, 1.6 this year per game. What's the key? Are you guys doing anything differently that's helping the O-line, or is it just those guys maybe the churn a little bit?
I think it's a combination, maturity, and you look at the sacks last week. One of them was on the quarterback, right? So he's scrambling. If he throws the ball away, we have 1 sack in the game, right? So I think the guys are maturing. The quarterbacks are protecting themselves a little bit better. I think it's just more maturity and those guys playing together and committed to the preparation so that the communication is where it needs to be. And then Anthony does help being back there because he can get them out of some situations. And then also, he's doing a better job of making sure that we don't just take unnecessary sacks by getting rid of the ball or pulling it down and running.
You touched on Louisville's passing game. They're ranked, I think, number 8 in the country in explosive plays, 20, 30 yards. What makes them so good at that? Is it just been the other teams making mistakes, or are they just
No,
efficient?
they're really good. They're efficient. They're fast. They can take the running back when the running backs are really good. So they find the creases and then they can hit the creases and then they break tackles and they can go. So they got a lot of juice, as we say, in our meetings at the running back position. And their wideouts are extremely fast, and they also can make contested plays down the field. So if you get the ball and the tight end, their tight ends really can run. So they got great team speed, and then the quarterback, he's an experienced guy. He looks very comfortable in the system. He gets the ball to the playmakers, and then he's got the ability to run too. I think maybe first play at a Notre Dame game. He pulls it on a zone read type concept, or I can't remember if it's a design run or pulled read, but he goes for about 50 himself. So I think it's a combination of the system. And then they do a great job and they challenge you too because they play in multiple personnels, right? They give you a lot of different sets, right? They challenge your discipline. They also challenge your toughness because they'll come right downhill at you. And then they got great skill and tight ends that can really roll. So if you're a step late, right, a play that may be designed a shallow crosser for 5 or 6 yard gain, and if they catch you in the right coverage. And they break a tackle, then they're going for a long way. So I think it's a combination of the scheme, the players, and then you can see that the guys that they have just have a knack for there's certain guys you can watch on tape and see like what he's got that it factor where like he knows how to make a big play.
Jackie.
Antonio Clary brings so many intangibles on the field that you can't really clone. How do you kind of help Caleb Hardy come in and not really replace Antonio Clary, but still have that impact? And where have you seen his development?
Yeah, you use Antonio Clary to help. And so like today, he was back there on the back end like a coach. And I split my time between watching the defense, the offense, and standing back there with him. I mean, he's coaching every play. So he's helping Caleb, right? He's helping mentor. Like he's helping those young guys understand where their eyes need to be, what they can do on certain particular calls, when they can drive on routes, when they got to stay on top of routes. So I think that's the first thing is Antonio staying engaged, which he'll obviously do because he loves those guys on the back end, takes a lot of pride, and then those guys got to put in the work, which you'll see, and then hopefully that translates to being able to produce on the field. And Caleb played a lot of football for us last year too, so hopefully it doesn't take long for him to kind of get back in the groove, and he's played more snaps last couple games than early in the season. So hopefully it's the combination of him seizing the moment, his opportunity, and then leaning on the leadership and guidance from Clary.
Right.
Landry played well at Louisville last year in that game, both running and passing the ball. Are there things you can look back at last year and use again because it's the same defense, similar personnel for Louisville, or do you think they'll be knowing exactly what to look?
Well, they've had time to study themselves just like we have. And so there's going to be some things that are part of your DNA, right? So there'll be things that'll be carryover. And the challenge is always just trying to get your calls matched up against the best defensive look. And that you can't predict that, with 100% accuracy. So there'll be some things that'll carry over, but then also too, we got to lean on the things that we've been doing well. Protect them with any tendencies that we've created, So there'll be a little bit of combination of studying last year, but a lot of it'll be based off of the body of work from this year. And now you got five games or so in to really study your opponent.
Russ.
You talked about before the season cross training some guys in the slot, and now you're already out with Sedary and now Chris. I know Cam played a lot there. Are other guys able to play that position?
Yeah, so you got Cam and Jaden's having to roll there. Obviously, Tyler will take some of the pressure off because he can do some of those things there in the slot. But you got to use them. You got to use all those guys, and formationally, you can move guys around and get them into that position. So, so we're not quite as like one dimensional last year like we were with Malik in the slot. We got more bodies that can take off some of the load until we get Sedarian back, until we get Chris back, and Sedarian's day to day. So he practiced today. So hopefully by the end of the week he'll be feeling good enough to maybe give it a go.
How about the throw must get made off the bench?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, get you guys in field goal
Big
range.
play.
And were you surprised? Any hesitation throwing the ball in that situation?
No, because going back to preseason camp and just how competitive the competition was, and then watching him every day in practice, and then seeing him sit right here in the front row and lead from his position, no question at all. We gave him because he earned it, the 12th man award. We don't make that play right there, right? Then things could have been different. So no surprise. Kind of that's who he is. And I know that in the event that there is a situation that he needs to go in the game, and he's going to be ready.
And then a corner, you mentioned Sedarian, just remind me of Dre Walker. He's been where is he at?
So I think he's about another week or so away from being ready to roll. Yeah, just kind of bone bruising. Gotta let it heal up. But he's back moving around a little bit. So I anticipate another week or so he'll be ready to roll.
12-man personnel, we would like to have more depth at tight end.
Yeah.
These guys injured. Where did John Rogers? Where has he seen his development? You might have to throw him.
John Rogers ready to roll, and John Rogers came in, showing signs of like this guy, could be a young guy that could contribute, and then he has a hamstring, so he's down a little bit, but now he's back healthy, ready to roll, and so he'll be, as we say, called up to the big leagues this week. But he's a competitor, right? Smart kid, tough, fast. Biggest thing for him is he's playing a position where there's a lot going on. And so getting up to speed will be the biggest challenge for him because, when he was down with the hamstring for a couple of weeks, obviously, he wasn't, I wouldn't say as engaged, but he was focusing more on his recovery and his rehab and not necessarily, on the actual game plans because you got to get the guys ready that are going to go.
And Jeff.
I know there's only so many touches to go around, but ideally, would you like to get the ball to Xavier more than 5 times in a game?
Yeah, ideally you would, and again, it's at that position, it's kind of who gets the hot hand, and I think early on we didn't have a ton of plays early in the game, just because we were 3 and out a couple times and trying to establish the run, and different calls have different personnel packages, but yes, he's a guy that we want to get involved more in the right situations. So do we have an ideal number for him? No, but I anticipate that he'll have more than 5 touches, and he's a guy that needs more than 5 touches because each time he touches it, you're seeing that he has the ability to have a big play.
Sure.
Joe Brown was complaining the other day that his opponents the last couple of weeks have gotten off to a really fast starts and it's put them behind the 8 ball, so to speak. Does that impact the way you look at things when you scout them and in terms of maybe how you script plays to try to maybe take advantage of that?
Yeah, great question. I think for us, the way we script plays is to try to get off to a fast start, regardless of who we're playing. And I anticipate that they're going to try and get those things corrected that didn't allow them to get off to a fast start. But when you script your plays, you're trying to get your team off to a fast start. So I don't know if you look for anything in particular to say, other than if there's something glaring on the tape that says, okay, here's something that is repetitive. But a lot of times it's not anything repetitive. It's kind of different things, right? So like when we've gotten off to a slow start, it hasn't been the same thing each time, right? So it's typically something different. But each time you start a game, you want to have that kind of like an opening script type thoughts to kind of get your guys going fast. I think you focus more on what you're doing as opposed to what they're doing. But you also got to be ready to react in case they do something that is different.